Hi, my name is Zach Benton. This is my alone survival video on shelter building.
The purpose of shelter is simply protection from the elements.
You don't want to get too hot or too cold.
Let's consider location. You want to get as much sunlight as you can get.
So for the northern hemisphere, you want to be on the southern slope. You want to be close to natural resources, but not too close.
Odds are pretty good you're not the only one shopping there. If you're too close to the water, you're more likely to have insect problems. And if all you can hear is water, it'll mask the sound of any danger coming into your camp.
Finding a good position in a tree line will act as a natural windbreak.
Mid-range level ground is ideal. Things to avoid: high open areas where you're overly exposed. Low-level valleys. Be conscious of topography. Look for any sign that you're in a flood zone. Look up. They call these the widowmakers.
If there's a bunch of deadfall and rock debris, that is not a good place to build your shelter.
You don't want to be under that.
Take note of game trails, but don't contaminate the resource. Start with something short-term that won't require much commitment.
This brings me to the super shelter. A super shelter is basically a lean-to with a tarp door to seal off the opening. It captures that thermal radiation and keeps it trapped inside your shelter.
It can get a little steamy if there's any moisture inside, so you want to make sure there's airflow. Protect yourself from the ground with dry leaves or pine needles, but ultimately you're going to want to have a raised bed. There's lots of different knots you could learn, but at a minimum for shelter building, know your rafts, your fraps, and your clove hitch.
If you're trying to break up logs, put a notch on one side, roll it over, put a notch on the other, swing that log into a rock and break it at those points. This will save you a lot of time and energy.
Once you have your shelter put together, it's good to smudge it and get all the bugs out.
You take some coals that are smoking but not flaming and you set them in your shelter. It'll fill with smoke and you can literally watch the bugs crawl out.
You don't want to wake up in the middle of the night doing the struggle snuggle.
Once you've established your basic necessities for survival, you can start setting yourself up for the long term. There's lots of different construction types for a long-term shelter. Use what you have available, but keep it small. An 8x8 is plenty of room for one person. Having a waterproof roof is a must. Think of how shingles work and explore your resources for waterproof material. Start from the low side and overlap working toward the top. You want to have good insulation while maintaining ventilation, especially if you want an indoor fire. If you want an indoor fire, keep it small. Use rocks, mud, and clay to insulate your shelter. A rocket stove type setup will give you the most bang for your buck while producing the least amount of smoke. If you're not comfortable or you don't want to put a fire inside your shelter, you can use hot rocks. This is also a great thing to set up and prepare for if you know you're about to do something with a high risk of hypothermia. When you come back, if you need to warm yourself quickly, you can put them in your shelter and get warm. Making a door with a hinge. Imagine someone holding themselves out horizontal, swinging around a pole. It's exactly how you make a hinge for a door. It's holding the weight by pulling at the top and pushing at the bottom. You take one big forked stick with a small fork on one end, that's going to be the bottom, and you notch the top in with another small forked stick, and that's your top. This creates a swing arm. This has a lot of different applications. You can use it to hold a pot and swing it out over a fire, or you can increase the scale and build an entire shelter that stands up off the ground. Trash is everywhere and a great resource, so pick up anything you might find. It may appear useless, but you never know how it might come in handy down the road. Well, that was my little video about shelter. So much of survival is psychological, and having a comfortable place to rest your mind and your body will carry you a long way.
Remember, knowledge is power, but only if there's action.
Sometimes just knowing which card to play can make anything possible. Thanks for watching.